Hello and Assalamu-Alaikum everyone, and welcome to the 12th episode of Let's Talk Pakistan, a podcast where we discuss everything from global issues to tech updates. So आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है it is going to be very different, and accordingly हमारा जो format है it's going to be different as well. So if you're living in Pakistan or are connected to the Pakistani politics in any way, you know that as of 27th March and this few weeks, Pakistan has been seeing a lot of political movement. Some people are even saying that this is going to be a turning point in the history of Pakistan. Accordingly, it was only fair that we discussed the Imran Khan march. So this is going to be one of the biggest showdowns in the history of Imran Khan's government, which is the last 3.5 years. And both sides, the government and the opposition, are moving with their full energies to prove their points. Imran Khan wants to prove to the people that he still retains the vote bank that got him elected to the office of Prime Minister. On the other hand, opposition has exactly the opposite motives. Their Mengai Macau March, or inflation end inflation march, as I'd like to translate it to English, is about how people have lost the confidence in this government and the overall situation of the country, such as the overarching inflation that has been increasing for the past couple of months and over a year now, has been very, very poisonous for the people, and they're claiming this very ground to call for the no confidence motion against the Premier of Pakistan. So Imran Khan and the governments are out on the street and they're trying to rally support as of 27th March. And I decided to do this podcast. Why? क्योंकि मैंने हर पॉडकास्ट में अपना मकसद बताना होता है कि why did I choose this particular topic. So this podcast came to mind when a friend called me a couple of days ago कि यार चलो इमरान खान की मार्च चले. And this was not just one friend. These were a lot of people. They contacted me again and again कि यार चलो, but I couldn't go due to some personal reasons. That aside, it made me wonder कि क्या ऐसी बातें हैं, why are people still motivated to go and support their leader, which is Imran Khan. So if we look at the recent political history of Imran Khan, the Premier of Pakistan, we see this very religious and very Islamic leader that's emerging in this region. Even to the extent that Imran Khan's current slogan, which he is using a lot to rally support for the march that's happening right now, the political rally that's happening in Pakistan on 27th, is
Amar bil
an ayah
maroof wa
from
nahy anil
Quran,
munkar.
from Surah Al Imran. It reads, "What is good, and disapprove or forbid what is bad, and what is evil." Essentially, so सच्चाई का साथ दें और बुराई से इज्तनाब करें और उसको फॉरबिड करें, मतलब कि उसको मना करें बुराई से. So this is his slogan for the 27th March वाली जो रैली है. Or if we also if we look into the current and recent political movement by Imran Khan, it is, for example, the recent, only last week we had an OIC summit in Islamabad, which was the second summit after the creation of OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries. So, among the major agendas of OIC was Islamophobia, which has been one of the biggest campaign slogans of Imran Khan, which transpired into his government and has been one of his focal points in all of his political rallies. He's even used this very concept to actually go against West. Okay, वेस्ट के जो प्री कंसीव्ड नोशंस हैं अबाउट मुस्लिम्स एंड इस्लाम एंड पाकिस्तान एंड हाउ मुस्लिम कंट्रीज हैव बीन यूज्ड again and again. He's used a lot of examples in Afghanistan, Pakistan to rally an emotion against the people of like against the policies of West, which have been which have been very prominent in Pakistan's political history. And a lot of the previous governments have been pro-West, but recently, over the past couple of years, Pakistan has taken a more pro-China approach. So all of this comes to mind when we talk about Imran Khan moving his people and mobilizing people in his favor. On the other hand, अगर हम opposition को सोचें, तो opposition has one main agenda, and that is calling Imran Khan a pawn of the establishment. और वो यही मेन का पॉइंट है और वो इसको लेके चले हुए हैं उसकी उस एम्ब्रेला के अंडर ऑफ कोर्स दे हैव दीज देयर्स mobilizing slogans like महंगाई मकाओ and electricity prices, oil prices, a lot of other things, um, tariff hikes, tax hikes, a lot of things which are basically to mobilize the poor class, poor and the working class of Pakistan. So इससे मुझे although there's a lot of mudslinging both sides, people calling each other names and a lot of comic things going on in the politics of Pakistan, but we're not concerned with that. So I just wanted to learn कि क्यों लोग जा रहे हैं इमरान खान की मार्च पे. Is it the religious reason, which I must add the opposition parties have been very quick to point out. And in fact, on social media, there have been certain comparisons of Imran Khan with Ziaul Haq, who in the past has been accused of using religion to actually manipulate people's feeling about himself and the state at the time. So I had questions. For example, मेरा पहला question था. So I did not call one single person on the podcast. Rather I sent a list of questions to people across Pakistan and a lot of people that I knew, and a lot of people of my own age, which are like 25 to 30, which is the youth, and a lot of the elder generation as well, because I wanted to know कि क्या ख्यालात हैं सबके. So these are the list of questions I had. I'll just list them down and then we'll go one by one and listen to the responses, different responses that people had to give. So मेरा पहला सवाल था कि why are people going to Imran Khan's march? और क्या जो मैसेज है वो क्या है, क्या लोग मैसेज देना चाह रहे हैं by participating in this march with the Premier of Pakistan? दूसरा मेरा सवाल था कि इमरान खान को ये नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन क्यों फेस करना पड़ा है? Is it the inflationary policies? Is it oil prices? Is it his anti-West campaigns? What is the reason behind this opposition and this no confidence motion that Imran Khan is facing? Number 3, what are the 5 things जो मैंने पूछा लोगों से कि आपके ख्याल में, उनके ख्याल में क्या 5 चीज़ें हैं जो इमरान खान ने की हैं और ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज अगर वो पावर में होती वो ना करती. Essentially, how do they think that Imran Khan government has dealt things in better ways than opposition? Number 4, do the people think that the vote will pass? If yes or no, why? What is the reason people think either the vote will pass or not? अगला सवाल मेरा था कि मैंने लोगों से पूछा कि उनकी फेवरेट और लीस्ट फेवरेट पॉलिसी क्या है इमरान खान के गवर्नमेंट की अभी तक, बिकॉज वी ऑलरेडी बीन थ्रू मोर देन 75% ऑफ हिज टाइम इन द ऑफिस, सो इट वाज ओनली फेयर दैट वी आस्क्ड दिस क्वेश्चन. एंड देन आई आस्क्ड हिम पीपल अबाउट व्हाट इज देयर प्लान इफ ऑपोजिशन कम्स टू पावर. Will people march? Will they just accept the governments that will come to power? Or will they wait till the next election to vote? And इसी से मेरा अगला सवाल आया कि जो अगला इलेक्शन होगा लोग उसमें किस पार्टी को वोट करेंगे. कंसिडरिंग द फैक्ट्स ऑफ टुडे, मैं फ्यूचर पॉलिसीज की बात नहीं कर रहा, I'm not talking about the perceptions. Okay, maybe Imran Khan will have more people friendly policies in the future. I'm talking about till date, as of 27th March. What are the policies, and how have the policies during the Imran Khan's government, or how have the opposition's reaction to this whole thing, and how has the opposition movement impacted the decision of people up till now कि वो किसको वोट करेंगे. So ये मेरे साथ सवाल कुछ सवालात थे. And now let's listen to what people have to say about it. Hi everyone. So the thing is that this particular episode of Let's Talk Pakistan is going to be an audio only podcast because we're still navigating around how to set up our video, and we've got some new interesting equipment to help us improve the quality of the podcast. As you can hear already, my voice is much better with my new mic, and probably you'll be seeing a better infrastructure in my next podcasts. But for now, you just have to make do with what little video you've already seen and some of the audio podcast that is coming ahead. However, I promise you this is very interesting, and I have some amazing content for the rest of the episode. So keep tuned in and watch the rest of the episode. Thank you. Allah Hafiz. So let's move to the first question, which is why are people going to Imran Khan's march, and what message are they giving to people around themselves?
People are going to Imran Khan's march with the basic idea that is to show street power, which is the idea that the masses are still standing behind him. The idea that the opposition is presenting right now is that Imran Khan has lost the majority in the people and in the assembly. So, of course, they can buy votes in the assembly, but they cannot buy the votes of the people in general. So, the idea is that Imran Khan gives a call to the entire country and everyone shows up and goes to Islamabad. Jiske baad they'll have, the biggest jalsa in the history of Pakistan, which would ultimately present that Imran Khan is still the favorite amongst the people and people still want him as the Prime Minister of Pakistan and not this other mafia that ruled us for years. Yes, so that's basically how they want to show that just on just one call of the Prime Minister, everyone is leaving whatever they're doing and moving to Islamabad. And they also try to give this call through, or they also try to present this message through other smaller jalsas that he had in different cities. For example, Kamalia, या उससे पहले Mansehra and all these places, which also showed कि कितनी बड़ी amounts में लोग बाहर निकले थे.
अस्सलाम जो पहला क्वेश्चन है उसके बारे में मेरा ये ख्याल कहता है कि लोग इसलिए उसको फॉलो कर रहे हैं स्टिल क्योंकि लोगों के जहन में बाकी पॉलिटिशियंस के बारे में इतना बैड इमेज क्रिएट कर दिया गया है कि उनके पास इसके अलावा और कोई चारा नहीं है और वो किसी हद तक अपने को कन्विंस करना चाहते हैं और कर रहे हैं कि इमरान खान जो पॉलिसीज़ लेकर आया उसके लिए उसको बहुत टफ़ टाइम फेस करना पड़ रहा है और उसको एक लंबी टेन्योर चाहिए उसको फुलफ़िल करने के लिए, क्योंकि जो मीडिया की ग्रिप है, जो सोशल मीडिया में जो पावर है इमरान खान की और इमरान खान की टीम की, वो इतनी कन्विंसिंग है कि लोग जो है ना वो जब भी बेशक उनके नेगेटिव भी सुनते हैं तो उनके ऊपर जब उनको पॉजिटिव मटेरियल मिलता है तो वो लोग उससे कन्विंस हो जाते हैं.
My contention is that people don't want old status quo powers to return. Even those people who have reservations with Imran Khan prefer him over old parties. And while Imran Khan is rallying his supporters on the basis of anti-corruption narrative, opposition parties have no coherent narrative. JUIF claims PTI is anti-Islamic. PPP says there is inflation. PMLN says we are being victimized. Hence, there isn't much public support.
इमरान खान के मार्च में लोगों का जो जाना है उसमें मेरा ख्याल है एक जो एक पर्सनैलिटी ऑफ मार्च है ना, मेरा ख्याल है वो इस टाइम इमरान खान है. नो मैटर व्हाट योर इकोनॉमी इज सर्वाइविंग, योर फ्यूचर इज ऑन द स्टेक, no matter what people still support Imran Khan in a huge amount. And so I think the Imran Khan knows how to gather people in the march.
اب جو ہمارا دوسرا سوال ہے وہ یہ تھا کہ عمران خان کو آج نو کانفیڈنس موشن کیوں فیس کرنا پڑ رہا ہے؟
جو سیکنڈ کوسچن نو کانفیڈنس کا ہے، بیسکلی یہ ایک اپوزیشن کا ایک وے ہے جو گورنمنٹ کو انگیج کرنے کا. جس طرح عمران خان نے جو ہے نون لیگ کی گورنمنٹ کو انگیج کیا رکھا 5 سال، اور لاسٹ میں اس کا پریشر جو ہے وہ بہت زیادہ انکریز کر دیا گیا تاکہ جو ڈیولپمنٹ ہے، جو ان کا فوکس ہے، وہ ٹوٹلی اس اپنے روڈ میپ سے ہٹ جائے. تو بیسکلی اپوزیشن بھی اسی پلاننگ کے مطابق جو ہے وہ کام کر رہی، کیونکہ اگر عمران خان آخری 1 سال کے اندر کوئی اچھا کام کر جاتا ہے، کوئی روڈ انفراسٹرکچر کو امپروو کر جاتا، چیزوں کو امپروو کر جاتا، تو لوگ سمجھیں گے کہ ٹھیک ہے یار 4 سال وہ ایڈجسٹ کرنے میں لگا رہا اور آخری سال اس نے پھر بھی ڈیلیور کر دیا، تو کم از کم یہ شخص ایماندار ہے اور وہ جو ہے نا بات صحیح کرتا ہے. تو جو باقی آپشنس ہیں ان کے پاس وہ ایک کرپٹ پولیٹیشنس کی ہیں، تو لوگ جو ہے وہ اس کی طرف جو ہے نا انکلائنڈ ہو جائیں گے. تو اس وجہ سے عمران خان نے جو ہے نا یہ جو اپوزیشن ہے اس نے نو کانفیڈنس کا ووٹ کیا ہے، تاکہ عمران خان کا جو سارا فوکس ہے وہ اس طرف رہے اور وہ خاص کوئی کام نہ کر سکے. اور آخر کار لوگ ریئلائز کر دیں گے کہ 4 سال کا جو اس نے ٹینیور گزارا ہے وہ سمجھ جائیں گے کہ یہ بھی ٹھیک نہیں تھا اور آخری سال بھی وہ ڈیلیور نہیں کر سکا. تو بیسکلی یہ ایک پاکستان کی ایک نیگیٹو پالیٹکس سٹارٹ ہو چکی ہے، جو کہ جو پہلے بھی تھی، لیکن اس کا زیادہ فوکس عمران خان نے ہی پہلے سٹارٹ کیا. اب اپوزیشن بھی اسی حربے کو استعمال کر رہی ہے، اور کوئی ایک پارٹی اس وقت سے نہیں آ سکتی کہ ان کی ظاہری بات ان کے پاس نہ سیٹیں ہیں، اور نہ ہی کوئی پارٹی اس وقت جو ملک کی کرنٹ کنڈیشن ہے اس کا برڈن بیئر کرنا چاہتی ہے. تو اس لیے وہ کلیکٹیو آ رہے ہیں تاکہ برڈن بھی جو ہے وہ جو ہے نا وہ سب پہ شیئر ہو.
Why is Imran Khan facing this motion? Yeah, just because the opposition doesn't want to see him in power. That's the only reason he's facing this no confidence motion. اور کوئی بھی policy, چاہے وہ مہنگائی ہو, کوئی بھی ایسی بات ہو, اس وجہ none of these things are behind him facing this motion right now. The simple idea is that they wanted to come in power, they could not get in power, اور اس کے بعد all these people جنہوں نے ایک دوسرے کو گالیاں دی تھی اتنے سال, all of them joined hands, just how Imran Khan said in 2011-12 کہ جب میں ان کے پیچھے آؤں گا تو یہ سارے ہاتھ جوڑ لیں گے. That's exactly why. It's the mafia that wants to rule us, and they don't want to see accountability or Pakistan going forward and all these things that they know Imran Khan is capable of doing.
The main reason of the no confidence movement motion is the electoral reforms, because electoral reforms or biometric elections, or people from all over the world for Pakistan can vote from everywhere. I think it's a good for the people of Pakistan or for the Pakistan state. As they always said, the establishment is in the role for the country. Establishment has always the role for the uh, more votes. ووٹ چوری کا جو الزام لگایا جاتا ہے تو اسٹیبلشمنٹ پہ, تو میرا خیال ہے کہ اچھا ایک وہ تھا. لیکن آئی تھنک دا مین ریزن از الیکٹورل ریفارمس فار دا موومنٹ آن کانفیڈنس موشن اگینسٹ عمران خان.
Why is Imran Khan facing this no confidence motion? In my opinion, he's facing this no confidence vote because the opposition sees this as a last chance to remove him before the elections. If they fail, in last year he may introduce subsidies and packages etc. to build more support before elections, as is often the norm. He will also bring new army chief of his choice.
میرا تیسرا جو سوال تھا وہ یہ تھا واٹ آر دا 5 things دیٹ عمران خان ہیز ڈن وچ دا اپوزیشن wouldn't be able to do if it was in power.
The first is economic growth. We've seen the highest ever exports, highest ever remittances, one of the highest GDP growths in the last 15 years, considering Corona as well. Number two would be the Sehat card. Number three would be an independent foreign policy. Number four would be building relationships with Central Asia, Russia, and Africa. Zero focus on these regions was there before this government. Last would be political and military synergy. Was evident after Balakot strike by India. When such a thing happened in 2016, Pakistan could not give any response due to the state being divided.
جو 5 تھنگ کا کوشچن ہے کہ کون سی 5 ایسی چیزیں ہیں جو کہ عمران خان کر رہا ہے، اور اگر نو کانفیڈنس کا ووٹ اگر ون ہو گیا اور وہ ہٹ گیا تو وہ کام نہیں ہو سکا. تو کوئی ایسا اسپیشل کام عمران خان میرے خیال میں نہیں ہے جو وہ کر رہا ہے، اور جو صرف اس کے ہونے سے ہی ہونا ہے اور وہ ویسے نہیں ہونا. سو اس پہ میں نہیں سمجھتا کہ میرے پاس کوئی کمنٹس ہیں.
Okay, I don't really know about 5 things, but me as a freelancer, I think Imran Khan has always supported us, and I think if the no confidence vote passes, I don't think anyone would really care about freelancers or try to provide more opportunities or more services for them. I really had hope that we would have more financial services like maybe PayPal coming to Pakistan. That might not happen because you know, if opposition comes into power, they might not care about these things. So overall, I just know that we were good with Imran Khan as freelancers, and I don't know what will happen if opposition comes into power. I don't think they care about it.
اس کوشچن کے جواب میں میرا خیال ہے کہ اسٹیبلشمنٹ ہیز سم رول ٹو پلے آن خان صاحب، بیکاز خان صاحب ہے سم سادس انسان ہے اور اسٹیٹ زبان استعمال کر دیتے ہیں. تو اس میں میرا خیال ہے کہ 5 تھنگز اگر آپ دیکھیں خان صاحب پہ بیسیکلی ایک خارجہ پالیسی، ایک فارن منسٹری کا ایک پریشر ہے. خان صاحب میں بیسیکلی ایک پنجاب کا ایک بہت بڑا ایک جو ہے نا سیٹ بیک کہہ لیے جائے بزدار کی صورت میں. اور پھر آپ اپنا پی اے پی جو ہے ان کی تیسری پارٹی ہے بلوچستان عوامی پارٹی، میرا خیال ہے تیسرا رول اس کا ہے نان کانفیڈنس موومنٹ میں کہ ان کے کچھ تحفظات کہہ لیں آپ. سو یہ 4-5 ریزنس کے بنیاد پہ. چوتھا پانچواں جو میں نے میں نے پہلے والے 2 کوشچن میں بھی بتایا کہ الیکٹورل ریفارمس کا ایشو ہے، پنجاب کا ایشو. سو یہ میرا خیال ہے کہ یہ ایشوز ہیں.
In the next question, I asked people to tell me if they think the no confidence motion will pass and the reason for their thinking.
Do you think this vote will pass? I don't think this vote will pass. Maybe I'm just hoping against hope that it not pass. Even though they have the opposition says that they have numbers, but جس طرح ناراض MNAs واپس آ رہے ہیں. For example, Ramesh Kumar came back yesterday, and before him Hussain Dehar came back, and they were unable to get to even 160 just a few days ago when they called the assembly session. I don't think this confidence motion is going to pass, inshallah. I still believe that after, in fact, yesterday, the Supreme Court said something about the votes not being considered if you vote against a party's line. So I think uske baad mazid baaki log bhi wapas aa jayenge, and this no confidence motion inshallah will not pass.
I personally believe that this vote will not pass. The opposition is united to remove the government, but has no clue who will take over. Infighting is going on post Imran Khan setup. They can never agree on anything other than removing Imran Khan. That is the main issue. Public knows this, and hence overwhelming support for Imran Khan.
میرا خیال ہے جی آپ کا چوتھا سوال ہے ڈو یو تھنک دس ووٹ ول پاس. آئی تھنک اٹ ول پاس اگینسٹ عمران خان اور سم سیٹ بیکس ان ہاؤس آف اور مے بی ان ہاؤس کچھ چینج ہو جائے. لیکن مائنس عمران سے میرا نہیں خیال کہ کام بنے گا، یا ارلی الیکشن کال کر لیا جائے. میرا خیال ہے یہ ایک اچھی آپشن کہہ سکتے ہیں. لیکن لیٹس سی، میرا خیال ہے کہ اس نو کانفیڈنس موومنٹ کو عمران خان سروائیو شاید نہ کر پائے.
جو نو کانفیڈنس کا ووٹ ہے وہ میں نہیں سمجھتا کہ وہ پاس ہوگا، اور عمران خان کے پاس اسٹل ابھی بہت ساری آپشنز ہیں اس نو کانفیڈنس ووٹ کو جو ہے وہ فیل کر سکتا ہے. اور میرا جہاں تک خیال کہتا ہے کہ یہ ڈیفینیٹ فیل ہو جائے گا. اور میں یہ بھی سمجھتا ہوں کہ اپوزیشن کی بہت ایک انٹرنل خواہش بھی نہیں ہے اس کو پاس ہونے کی. وہ بس ایک موو چلا رہی ہے کہ تاکہ ایک لوگوں کے اندر باقی آپشنس کو جو ہے نا وہ ایک الائیو رہیں اور عمران خان اس کام میں انگیج رہے. تو یہ بیسکلی یہ لاسٹ جو ایئر ہوتا ہے اس کے اندر 2 ہی آپشنز ہوتی ہیں کہ اگر آپ ایک پارٹی جو ہے وہ اپنے آپ کو ویک اپ کال دیتی ہے اور وہ اس طرح ایفرٹ پٹ کرتی ہے، اپوزیشن جو ہے وہ گورنمنٹ پارٹی کو جو ہے نا وہ ڈسٹرب کرنے کے لیے. تو میں نہیں سمجھتا کہ یہ ان کی انٹینشن بھی پاس کروانے کی ہے, لیکن یہ موو چلے گی, شور ہوگا, اور آئی تھنک یہ ان دا اینڈ جو ہے وہ یہ نو کانفیڈنس فیل ہو جائے گی, کیونکہ جو ان کے پاس باقی حریف ہیں, پرویز حریف, باقی آپشنز ہیں, ان کو معلوم ہے اگر وہ اٹیچ بھی ہوتے ہیں اپوزیشن کے ساتھ تو انہیں ملنا ملانا اتنا خاص کچھ ہے نہیں, اور ان کی انسلٹ علیحدہ سے ہوگی. تو اگر وہی آپشنز, وہی چیزیں اگر ان کو عمران خان سے مل جائیں گی تو وہ ان کو اپوزیشن کے ساتھ جانے کی ضرورت نہیں ہے. تو میرا خیال ہے عمران خان جو ہے وہ اس سچویشن میں جو ہے نا کنونس ہو گیا ہوا ہے کافی حد تک, اور وہ ان کی وہ ریکوائرمنٹس جو ہے ان کو کافی تک پورا کر دے گا. تو یہ جو نو کانفیڈنس موو ہے یہ فیل ہو جائے گی.
Do you think this vote will pass? I think it might pass actually, because there's enough opposition against Imran Khan, and people, and the opposition just want to overthrow, and someone else wants to come into power, and there's enough again negative press about Imran Khan that this might actually happen.
But do you think this vote will pass? Why? پتا نہیں, دیکھو, it's a surprise. Both parties are trying their hard کہ اب کی چیز منوا لی جائے, but I don't know. I literally don't care. Though I do want Imran Khan to finish his 5 years of tenure, but again, it's politics. Pakistan میں کچھ بھی ہو سکتا ہے.
My next question was, what is your favorite and least favorite policy by the Imran Khan government?
What is your favorite and what is the favorite? My favorite policy or the project that I think that is the best that PTA has undertaken is health card, definitely, because the sort of help that it has given to people, that is unprecedented. And my least favorite policy or decision, you can say, is the extension they give to Bajwa. I don't think they should have done that. I think it reflects very poorly on the entire institution of armed forces, because it shows that there's no one else in the army who is capable of taking charge after this current general. I think that's something they should not have done, and it's also sort of something that has come to haunt them.
What is your favorite and least favorite policy by Imran Khan government? My favorite would be the focus on increasing exports and industrialization. My least favorite would be the selection of CMs of Punjab and KPK.
What is your favorite and least favorite policy by Imran Khan government? The favorite one would obviously be the Sehat Insaf card, because lessening the burden on the government hospitals and moving the patients, the people who are depending on the government funds to get their health benefits, وہ اگر پرائیویٹ سیکٹر پہ شفٹ کر دیا جائے تو وہ بہتر ہے. اٹس آلویز بیٹر, بیکاز وہ پھر چاہے ایک بندہ ریموٹسٹ ولیج میں بھی رہ رہا ہو, ہی کین جسٹ گو ٹو اینی پرائیویٹ کلینک اوور دیئر اینڈ گیٹ ہمسیلف چیک تھرو دس انشورنس. اور وہاں آپ کو ہر جگہ جا کے بی ایچ یوز, بائی بی ایچ یو آئی مین بیسک ہیلتھ یونٹ سے ٹی ایچ یوز نہیں لگانے پڑتے. تو اوور آل آئی تھنک صحت انصاف کارڈ از بیسٹ پالیسی ایور. اینڈ دا لیسٹ فیورٹ پالیسی از دی آئیڈیا کہ پاکستان میں ہمارے پاس بڑی بڑی سڑکیں ہونی چاہیے اور بڑے بڑے شہر ہونے چاہیے. نو, وی جسٹ نیڈ بیٹر ہاؤسنگ, وی نیڈ بیٹر انفراسٹرکچر ان ٹرمز آف موبلٹی. کہ آپ پبلک ٹرانسپورٹ کے لحاظ سے کیا کرتے ہیں. پبلک ٹرانسپورٹ میں عمران خان نے خاص کام نہیں کیا. اور اس کے علاوہ بلین ٹری سونامی کے مسئلے آنے شروع ہو گئے. وہ ڈیٹیل میں ڈسکس کی جا سکتی ہے بات, لیکن یپ his I think the least favorite policy would be his pet projects, if I must say.
فیوریٹ لیز پالیسی عمران خان کی جو ایک ہی جو میں دیکھتا ہوں, جو اس نے ایک نصاب کے لیے کوشش کی تھی کہ سب کا ایک نصاب ہو, اور میں یہ بھی سمجھتا ہوں کہ یہ پالیسی جو ہے وہ کسی بھی پولیٹیشین کے لیے ایک آسان کام نہیں ہے, اور عمران خان نے اس پہ کچھ ورک کیا ہے, لیکن اس کے بعد جو ہے مجھے افسوس ہے کہ اس نے اس پہ بہت زیادہ کام نہیں کیا, اور آئی تھنک یہ ان دا اینڈ پالیسی جو ہے وہ ختم ہو جائے گی, اور اس میں وہ جو اس کا اصل مقصد ہے وہ نہیں پورا ہو پائے گا, کیونکہ بہت ساری آپشنز جو ہیں وہ پرائیویٹ سیکٹرز میں, پرائیویٹ سکولز میں جو ہیں وہ ان کو آپشنز مل گئی کہ یہ نصاب اپنی مرضی کے سے کچھ چیزیں لگا سکتے ہیں یا ماڈیفکیشن کر سکتے ہیں. تو اس وجہ سے جو ہے میں نہیں سمجھتا کہ یہ پالیسی بھی فردر چلے گی, لیکن یہ ایک ایسی موو تھی جو عمران خان نے لی تھی, اور یہ میرے خیال میں سب سے ڈیفیکلٹ تھی, اور اس پہ اس نے تھوڑی کوشش کی ہے. میں بہت خواہش مند ہوں کہ یہ پاس ہو, और उसमें सीरियसली इसका निसाब जो गवर्नमेंट साइड का है वो इतना अच्छा होना चाहिए कि प्राइवेट स्कूल भी उसको खुशी से एक्सेप्ट करे। वो इस तरह का निसाब नहीं होना चाहिए कि जो उसमें 10 क्वेश्चन हो। तो ये एक चीज़ है, मैं समझता हूँ कि इमरान खान ने एक अच्छा काम किया था और उसको मुकम्मल करना चाहिए।
What is your favorite and least favorite policy by Imran Khan? Okay, I don't know about the least favorite, but again, for the favorite things, I would say the support for freelancers. Uh, Being a freelancer myself, that's really important to me, and I think he announced this policy where he said freelancers don't have to pay income tax. I think that was really good.
What is the favorite and least personality, favorite and least favorite policies by इमरान? अच्छा, फेवरेट पॉलिसी खान साहब की है कि खान साहब के एक एक नया बिल्कुल अभी भी एक एग्रीमेंट खान साहब ने किया बलूचिस्तान के हवाले से। उसमें उन्होंने एक अच्छी उन्होंने एक सेहत कार्ड का बड़ा अच्छा कंसेप्ट दिया है। फिर एक खान साहब ने एहसास प्रोग्राम दिया है, नौजवान प्रोग्राम दिया। मेरा ख्याल है एक अच्छी अप्रोच है टूवर्ड्स गवर्नमेंट। एंड फिर एक इन्होंने घर की स्कीम दी है। मेरा ख्याल है एक अप्रोच तो अच्छी है, लेकिन इट शुड बी एग्जीक्यूटेड एज प्लान।
सो जो सेकंड लास्ट सवाल मैंने सबसे पूछा था वो ये था कि व्हाट वुड पीपल डू इफ द opposition actually came to power? Would they actually go out and protest or just continue with their lives and maybe vote for Imran Khan in the next elections again?
Honestly, I know Imran Khan couldn't do all the things that he had promised, and a lot of things went south. But considering if the opposition comes into power, these are the same people all over again. I don't really feel optimistic about them. So that would be a case of who is the least bad of them all. That sort of situation. So I'll have to just choose the least bad person out of them, basically, because it's really the same people all over again. There's nothing new happening. Same parties, same propagandas, same objectives. I mean, in comparison to Imran Khan, it seems really bad out there. The other people, the other politicians that are out there, and yeah, it's just really sad.
What is your plan if the opposition comes to power? That would be to protest with PTI against them.
My plan if opposition comes to power, Allah na kare. I don't know, I don't have a plan. I mean, of course, I will absolutely hate it if they came to power. I will pray that they don't come to power. But of course, I don't have the resources to leave the country instantly just because the ruler I hate is in power. I cannot do that. There are people who can afford to do that. They're saying that, they'll leave Pakistan agar opposition aa gayi in power. मैं तो यही रहूँगी, दुआ करूँगी जल्दी चले जाए।
ऑपोजिशन के पावर में आने के बारे में मेरा कोई ख़ास एक तो मुझे उम्मीद नहीं है कि वो पावर में आएगी, और दूसरा मैं समझता हूँ कि उनको पावर में नहीं आना चाहिए। किसी भी पार्टी का टेन्योर इन एनी केस मुकम्मल होना चाहिए, ताकि वो अगर कुछ उसकी वजह से कोई नुकसानात हो हैं तो कुछ वो मुल्क के लिए बेहतर कर जाए। तो मैं समझता हूँ कि सिस्टम को एक स्मूथ तरीके से ही चलना चाहिए, और ताकि हर बंदे को फुली ऑप्शंस उसको मिले, वो उसके मुताबिक सारे काम करे। तो मेरा इस बारे में कोई प्लान नहीं है, तो मैं यही समझता हूँ कि नहीं आना चाहिए ऑपोजिशन को पावर में।
I don't know what my plan is if opposition comes to power. Well, I will still do my job. I will still try to achieve my goals. Maybe. उसके अलावा क्या प्लान होगा?
तो मेरा आखिरी सवाल सबसे बड़ा सिंपल सा था कि अगले 2023 इलेक्शंस में who would people vote for? Because elections are right around the corner, and this political showdown that has been going on in Islamabad for a little bit, a little longer than a week now, is going to determine a lot of things for the future of country's politics. So before it comes to any conclusion, it was only fair कि मैं लोगों से पूछूं कि अपनी पॉलिसीज और आज तक जो हुआ है मुल्क में उसकी बिना पे लोग किसको वोट करेंगे. So let's hear from the people.
So my vote is registered in Atak, and the guy I've been voting for is a good guy, is a decent guy. and he's a qualified person too. So I'll still vote him. He is in PTI, but it's not because of the party I'm voting him. It's because of the person. एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट आई प्रीच टू कि लोगों को पार्टी के बिना पे वोट ना दिया करो और ये देखा करो कि आपको प्रेजेंट कौन ज़्यादा बेहतर तरीके से कर सकता है. यस आई एम गोइंग टू वोट हिम in the next election too.
Who will you vote for in the next election considering the facts of today? PTI.
चाहता तो वोट देने का मैं हूँ कि कोई अच्छी पार्टी हो, ज़्यादा बेहतर हो, और मैं बड़ी उम्मीद रखता था कि पीटीआई जो है वो एक अच्छी पार्टी बनेगी, लेकिन बिल्कुल वो अपने मंशूर से गलत डायरेक्शन में चले गए और जो उनमें अच्छाइयाँ थी उन्होंने सारी उसको नज़रअंदाज कर दिया. अभी अगर तमाम पार्टीज़ में मैं देखूं तो मुझे सबसे बेहतर पार्टी इन द एंड नून लीग लगती है कि उन वो बिज़नेस कम्युनिटी और इस किस्म की चीज़ों के लिए वो काफ़ी स्ट्रॉन्ग पार्टी है और वो बेहतर है. लेकिन इस मुल्क को जो है इनसे भी बेहतर पार्टी की ज़रूरत है, इनसे ज़्यादा बेहतर लोगों की ज़रूरत है. तो फ़िलहाल मेरे पास नून लीग के अलावा ऑप्शन नहीं है जिसको वोट दिया जा सके.
Said, who will you vote for in the next election considering the facts today? Again, I mean, I'll just choose the least bad person, the least bad person to come into power, because I don't really think there's anyone better than Imran Khan. Not saying that Imran Khan is like really good or anything, but I don't see anyone, like this guy is super good for Pakistan. I don't really think so. It's just all the same politics and just, a power game, basically. So, yeah, that's what I think about these.
Will you vote for in the next election? Definitely Imran Khan. I mean, you don't have a better option other than Imran Khan. It's the only person you can vote for in these circumstances. The only person who has the dedication, the vision, the leadership, the state craftsmanship, everything that is needed to steer Pakistan in the right direction. I believe I will definitely vote for Imran Khan. Even if, God forbid, he loses his vote of no confidence and, early elections are called or whatever, it's definitely Imran Khan.
Who will you vote for in the election considering the facts of today? I think this is a personal question. I avoid giving answer on this one, but I think Imran Khan is not the one I'm going to vote for. So you got the answer. Thank you.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम एंड वेलकम बैक टू द पॉडकास्ट. और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आपने वो क्वेश्चंस और आंसर एंजॉय किए होंगे जो अभी हमने आपको पेश किए. और मैं सबसे पहले तो शुक्रिया अदा करूँगा उन सब लोगों का जिन्होंने मेरे क्वेश्चंस के जवाबात दिए, और मैं साथ साथ माजरत भी चाहूँगा उन लोगों से जिनके जवाबात could not be featured in the podcast. And I'd go forward by explaining the reason is that we had to keep the length of the podcast small and shorter, so that people actually listen to it. And coming to, as you can see or listen to the podcast yourself, a lot has changed since the last podcast that was shot here. I have a new setup in some sort of things, and some things are still going under construction and renovation. I have received my new mic, which I ordered a long time ago, and a new tripod to set my camera. Along with that, I also now have I'm going to be having a proper table setup for the better quality of better mobility and better interaction with you guys. So there's that. Now coming to the event, because by the time you're hearing this podcast or watching this podcast, it's already 29th of March, which means that the Prime Minister's rally in Islamabad has already happened, and we've seen 1 days of 1 day's worth of feedback from analysts and people all across the country, as well as the opposition. So जहाँ तक बात है प्राइम मिनिस्टर की स्पीच की, which was something that he claimed was going to be filled up with surprises or one single surprise, a lot of people waited and waited and waited. but there was nothing. ये कह सकते हैं, if the surprise was that flashy letter that he showed in the end of his speech, then we had a lot to talk about. And but that letter is yet something which he claims contains the content of the threat he received from some foreign policy against his life. And he even compared himself to Bhutto, who also said similar things about his life being threatened by some external forces due to his foreign policy and a lot of pro Pakistani policies. So इमरान खान ने भी ऐसे दावे किए कि उनकी कुछ पाकिस्तान दोस्त पॉलिसीज की वजह से उनकी जान को खतरा है. However, these threats were laughed upon and thrown in the air by a lot of the opposition in the country. And a lot of memes came out of it, and a lot of fun was made of the letter. And however, there are on the other hand, we had a lot of people actually praying for the safety of the Prime Minister of Pakistan. And we here also wish for the best, and we wish that everything happens in this country peacefully and no harm is done to any person, including the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So, when we talk about the events that transpired on the 28th of March, which is when I'm recording this podcast. So, on the 28th of March, two very interesting things happened. In almost the morning, we had reports coming from Balochistan that some senior leadership from the government allied had joined the opposition, and it was confirmed by evening as Shah Zain Bukti, who was a special assistant to Prime Minister and a very big ally in Balochistan for the Prime Minister Imran Khan. He actually joined the opposition. Similarly, he was supported by other four PAP members who chose to join the opposition alliance. On the other hand, by evening, we also got the news that the Prime Minister has finally agreed upon one of the opposition's demands. That was to replace the Chief Minister of Punjab. And according to the news reports up till now, there is a chance that Pervez Ilahi, who is the leader of Pakistan Muslim League (CAF), he would be becoming the next Chief Minister of Punjab. So the situation is a little interesting in a way that with Imran Khan potentially offering this hot seat of Chief Minister of Punjab to his ally party, which is in Punjab, which was Pakistan Muslim League (CAF), he might have just secured his position in the National Assembly with regards to the no confidence vote. But on the other hand, opposition claims that there are big names that have not yet been revealed, but will those people support the opposition in the National Assembly? However, both claims need to be tested in the upcoming 2 days of this session, which is going to continue in the National Assembly on 29th of March and 30th of March. And we hope that whatever result comes out of it is in the benefit of Pakistan and its people and its citizenry, wherever they are in the country. And as we saw during a lot of answers that we received from our respondents, we found that even those who were not included in the podcast itself, we found that people actually did not want Imran Khan to actually leave his seat. Though the reasons may be different, but a lot of people converged on the point that a democratically elected leader like Imran Khan deserves to complete his 5-year tenure in his office. And thus, he must not be ousted at this crucial time when a lot there's a lot of uncertainty in the international arena. There's a lot of uncertainty in the economic zone and economic area of the country, and a lot needs to be done about a lot of things in this country, and thus a stable democratic government is everything that this country needs. So a lot of people, and almost all of the people, wanted Imran Khan to stay, despite them being very critical of his policies. So the final action and the final answer to all these questions will come in 2 days, and we'll all be praying that it is in the favor of Pakistan as a country. So, with that, I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in and listening or watching to the podcast. And I'd actually like to thank a lot of those people who were watching or listening to this podcast outside Pakistan, especially the audio podcast, which is being featured in Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and has a lot of viewership in America and Canada. So I thank all these Pakistanis and non-Pakistanis listening to Let's Talk Pakistan. So please share and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are and whatever platform you're using. I'm sure we are over there, and you can find all the links on our YouTube page or our website, which is going to be pasted in the description wherever you're listening to this podcast. So share, support, and show your love for Let's Talk Pakistan so that we can keep bringing such amazing, amazing new content for you guys in the end. So thank you and Allah Hafiz.